Whoa! We've been catching some fish on just big swim baits, reeling them really, really fast.
The chances of getting a really big pike are excellent here. This is a lot of fun.
Get yourself some swim baits because it's a lot of fun and they catch a lot of fish. They don't care, they just bite it.
Goes to show you, it's just a really efficient lure to catch fish. And the thing is, it varies points and times throughout the course of a season. Lake trout, smallmouth bass, walleyes doing this exact same thing with the simple bait, the swim bait.
Welcome to Angling Buzz, presented by Fleet Farm. I'm Troy Lindner. Now in today's show, we're going to talk about one of the most versatile lures on the market. That's the swim bait. You know, over the past 5 years especially, now swim baits have been around for a while, but over the past 5 years, they've become more popular than ever. And this goes everything from 1-inch swim baits for panfish all the way up to like 12 and 14-inch swim baits for musky and pike. The cool thing about fishing swim baits is, generally speaking, they're fairly easy to fish. Just a slow wind, you cast it out real slow, and eventually something is going to bite it. And on today's show, we're joined by Jeremy Smith, a very knowledgeable multi-species angler, and he's going to give us some insight on swim bait fishing.
Thanks, Troy. Yeah, you're right, that swim baits are definitely one of the most versatile tools that you'll have in your tackle box. They catch fish from ice out to ice up, and I've even caught fish with them through the ice. Now, if you're just getting into swim bait fishing, a great place to start is using something like a pre-rigged option. This is a Storm 360 GT. You can get it in a size from 2.5 up to 5.5 inches long, and as you get into swim baiting, you're gonna start to find yourself collecting more and more tackle. You'll have specialized hooks to accommodate big swim baits, different jig head styles, because they catch almost everything that swims in pretty much any environment you can think of.
You know, to tell you the truth, I rarely go out in the water without at least one swim bait tied in the end of the rod, and that's, you know, any time of year, spring, summer, and fall. Now, when we talk about the seasonal movements of fish, what in your opinion, you know, are some of the best times to use a swim bait?
Yeah, I agree, Troy, that there are definitely tools in your tackle box that just have these narrow windows where they shine, and swim baits certainly aren't one of those. They're always working, but right now is actually one of the peak times to be fishing with swim baits. Number one is that fish are somewhat scattered this time of year. In early summer here, you're gonna see a lot of fish spread out over flats. I'm talking largemouth bass and crappies, for example. You can find over developing weed beds. Throwing a small 2-inch swim bait like this for crappies is deadly. Throwing a 3.5 inch like this will catch you a lot of largemouth bass in new developing cabbage beds. Same thing with smallmouth bass over rock flats. And another way to fish swim baits besides just the straight kind of pull pause or straight retrieve is the rip jigging technique, which is working excellent right now for walleyes in those newly developing cabbage beds and also on rock and gravel flats. And the other thing we're finding is that muskies are big suckers for swim baits too, and we're catching muskies in both open water and over the weed flats with swim baits.
You're right. And from what I've seen all the way from Eastern Ontario to the West Coast, they work everywhere. And they're also a great option when you're learning new water. Now, besides pre-rigged options, what do you have in the boat for swim baits?
Yeah, Troy, well, I carry a lot of different stuff in the boat, but really you don't need a lot of stuff to do some really great things with swim baits. Primarily, it's jig fishing, so I carry a couple different styles of jigs, and there's really no wrong jig to fish with. It's really making sure that the jig has a hook that's the appropriate size to accommodate the swim bait. But here's a couple of my favorite swim bait jigs right here. You can see this is the Vmc Halfmoon, but it's more of a mushroom head style. This is the Vmc Darter head jig, and it's more of a bullet head style. So what's interesting about swim baits is that these two jigs can be the exact same weight, and they'll fish at different depths and have different actions. The mushroom head has more drag in the water. I'll use that when I want to keep things up above the cover. The Darter head, if I want a presentation to go deeper, that will be my choice. And along with that, I also carry some larger size swim bait heads like this for fishing bigger baits if I'm fishing pike or even bigger largemouth bass. And then I do carry a number of different hooks on board as well. So having a hook like this is a Vmc Underspin swim bait hook, and you can see that this is designed for a very big bait, but there's smaller ones as well, and you could throw these baits for largemouth bass and lily pad. So I carry a handful of jigs and I carry a handful of hooks that can accommodate just about every size swim bait you can think of.
Yeah, the selection and combinations are near endless. Now, I saw a show you did in the Tokyo rig with my cousin James. You were fishing in the midsummer. You had a swim bait on the Tokyo rig. This is deep rock fishing for largemouth bass. That looked like a lot of fun, but that's a whole nother subject in itself.
Yeah, it's another one of those places where who'd have thought that a presentation designed for fishing in heavy, dense cover could actually work on deep rocks, and swim baits can be used on the back of them. The versatility in the places they work really is endless. They're just a great tool that work all season long. And right now, the largies are biting, so I'm gonna get back after it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for sharing that great information. Hey, we have a short commercial break. When we come back, we have some in-the-field swim bait tactics for you. Stay with us.
Want to learn how to catch more and bigger fish? Well, we've got the place for you. Introducing the Fish Head Video Library. Now you can enjoy hour after hour of educational videos right on your phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, or even stream videos right to your TV. Largemouth, smallmouth, walleye, catfish, musky, pike and panfish, open water or on the ice. Check out Fish Head TV to rent, buy, or become a Fish Head member today.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up-north vacation destination.
Marine Pro, new from the makers of Seafoam Motor Treatment. Marine Pro is a complete marine fuel system treatment for all types of marine engines. Just pour it in. When added to boat fuel, Marine Pro works to clean and lubricate critical engine areas, stabilize stored fuel up to 2 years, and help protect the entire fuel system from bad fuel and corrosion. Help your marine engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam Marine Pro. Available now at Fleet Farm. From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. Whether it's keeping the backyard birds well-fed season, mastering those retrieval skills season, or wondering who takes care of who season. There's a reason people say if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it, because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
On the lake, in the woods, or on the ice, keep powered up with Bold North Outdoors portable power stations. Our rugged multi-service power station is marine grade, weatherproof, and powered by long-lasting lithium phosphate batteries. Charge cell phones, tablets, and GoPros, or power fans, lights, fish finders, underwater cameras, and more. Recharge anywhere with our solar panel charger. Wherever your adventure takes you, you'll have current and be connected with Bold North portable power stations.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Today we're talking about swim bait fishing. Up next year we have our Timely Topics feature. We're going to join Jeremy Smith and my cousin James out in the field right now.
Oop, there's one. Oh.
Patch of cover and boom.
Yeah, better one.
Doubles.
Better one. Wow. Wow, look at that guy there. That's a... Come here, buddy.
Nice fish, Jim.
Yeah.
Boy, they launched it though. You can see there's a little patch of cover up there, and there they were.
Just a really big flat. Wow. Come here, buddy. Wow. That's a nice one. Beautiful fish. Boy, she just ate it. You know, that's one thing that's really cool about swim baits is the fact that they work in so many different varied conditions. You know, they work for all different species of fish. We fish them for walleyes, we fish them for smallmouth bass, we use them for pike. Largemouth bass has become a really monstrous thing in largemouth bass or tournament fishing today. Swimbaits are a fabulous tool for doing one thing, covering a lot of water. You know, one of the real keys to catching fish is really is finding fish. Jeremy and I have never been on this body of water before. This is the first time we've been on it. And the thing is, you need a higher speed presentation to initially find fish. And then you can fine tune. A lot of times, once you isolate where some fish are, we could probably catch more fish by really slowing down, throwing like a Nico rig and stick worms in this exact same area. But right now, this lure is so efficient to really put it down, put the trolling motor moving along relatively quickly. We're casting 25 feet apart, just cover a tremendous amount of water, and it enables you to find fish really quick, and that's the real key. Right now, we're just fishing big, oh, there's one, we're fishing just big sand flats. These fish, that's a better one there. Fishing relatively clean sand flats, but there's little dark patches of weeds, and Jeremy and I are really just casting to those dark patches, and just in between it, just slow rolling the bait on the bottom. And boy, you can see how that boy, he really lunched it. Put one right there. There we go. Wow.
Little guy. Such a fun bite. You really cannot fish it wrong, but what seems to work early in the season like this is just a little bit slower speed, and what I end up doing is I'll cast it out, I'll let it hit the bottom. In this case, you know, if there's thick weeds, you don't want it to hit the bottom. But then I'm just reeling relatively slow, and every once in a while, I just speed the reel up and then stop it. Keep reeling, stop it. And a lot of times when you just that little action of the reel, it shoots it forward and you kill it, bam, you're on. Another one up there.
Swimbaits are great for covering water, just like James said, you know, shallow, deep, and in between. After this short break, we have our Buzz Bite reports. Stay with us.
Lake Vermilion. Explore. Relax. Reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Get hooked on our trophy walleye,
There's a beauty.
bass,
My favorite fish.
musky fish.
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
Sportfish Michigan is your #1 source for top charter captains and fishing guides in Michigan. Our network of professionals are full-time anglers with years of experience providing customers with the best possible fishing trip services. Fish for trout, salmon, steelhead on Lake Michigan or its famous tributary rivers, the Traverse City area's world-class smallmouth bass, walleye fishing on the Detroit River and Saginaw Bay, or Northern Michigan's spectacular ice fishing. We do it all. Sportfish Michigan. Get out. Get bit.
Some lodges are just a cut above. Hawk Lake is one of those. They're the only Orvis-endorsed lodge in all of Ontario, and they're the 4-time finalists for the best Orvis lodge in all of North America. They feature cordon bleu trained chefs and offer some of the best freshwater fishing in the world. You can target trophy walleye, smallmouth bass, pike and lake trout on any of their 19 private lakes. Whether you fish with traditional gear or love fly fishing, Hawk Lake has you covered.
Welcome back to AnglingBuzz. For our first report, let's check in with Toby Kavalivog on Leech Lake.
Wow, look at that Leech Lake gold. I tell you what, they're biting. It's June right now. We're up here. Right now we're pulling rigs. A little bit ago, we were pulling spinners. We're catching them all. The water temp is now in the low 70s. I'm gonna let this fish go. The water temp's now in the low 70s. We're catching them on bobbers. We're starting to catch them on jigging wraps. We're pulling spinners with the crawlers, linear rigs with crawlers and leeches. The bite is phenomenal on Leech Lake. We have a big year class, lots of different year classes. We have 12, 13 inches, which is awesome. We have 18, 19 inches, which is really good. And we're catching these great big fish too, like that 23 incher I just let go. So a lot of fun. Leech Lake's the place to be. It's hot. Come on up here and see us. Leisure Outdoor Adventures.
Looks like the walleye bite is really going up on Leech Lake. But for our next report, let's head up to Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
Both the largemouth and smallmouth are up shallow now. That's a blast if you get a chance to do that. Top waters are working on those, Ned rigs. Any of your plastics are working. You can fish them wacky style, and that's a lot of fun. Walleyes right now, they're starting to kind of move out. They're getting out and under some of their the reefs. Think your transitions, you know, sand to mud, that sort of thing. You're fishing live bait, leeches are starting to produce on rigs. Slip bobbers working well also. But don't forget your artificials, your jigging wraps, ripping wraps. That's all putting walleyes in the boat. Pike are biting well too. Get in on some of the 6 to 8 foot weed lines, and you'll catch some northern pike. Throw some 3/8 ounce spinner baits or some number 4, number 5 blue fox inline spinners. Get you some pike.
Now let's head over to the Duluth Superior area with Jared Houston.
What's up, Buzz anglers, ladies and gentlemen of all ages, size, shapes, and everything else? We are reporting from Duluth Superior on a bunch of awesome bites. We'll start with Lake Superior. Catch a lot of fish out 5 miles off the Superior entry, Duluth entry. They're using a lot of stick baits. They're in the waters of 50 to 70 to 100 feet of water. Lake trout, brown trout, a few cohos. We've had a little bit of king action going in there. The inland lakes, getting some panfish in the vegetation. Crappies are up in their spawn stuff. They're doing their thing. Lots of males sweeping, making sure the females are ready for when they come up to do their thing. And the St. Louis River, our baby, of course. We're out fishing right now, 4 feet of water on a real slow troll roll. And that means we're doing some bait fish from Northland. And we are doing that with some 1 ounce rock runner bottom bouncers. So that's the report from Duluth Superior. Hopefully everyone's having a good season. Rock and roll, tight lines.
Thanks, Jared. Now for our final report, let's head over to Michigan with Captain Ben Wolf.
We just had a full moon, and what that did was it pulled a lot of the smallmouth bass and largemouth bass up under the flats to spawn. You know, it's a really fantastic time to catch those bedders that we all love to do and sight fish. But it's really critical for future generations of our bass population to let those males go, get back onto the bed and protect the nest as quickly as possible. I know it's lots of fun to catch, but let those males get back to the bed to do what they do, protect those nests. And same goes for the panfish, crappies and bluegills. Let the big bluegills go. They're so much fun to catch, but we need that brood stock, protecting those eggs down there. Keep some of the smaller ones for the dinner table, but have fun with it. Detroit River continues to fish really well for walleyes, as well as Saginaw Bay if you can get out into the clean water. And we have salmon moving around up in the ports of Manistee and Frankfort as well, out on Lake Michigan. If you're looking for a captain or guide in the state of Michigan, give us a call or check us out on the web at sportfishmichigan.com.
Like many of you, I've had back issues.
From the pounding waves of Lake Erie
to over 30 years of competitive angling.
And a lifetime on the water, but not anymore.
Smooth Moves changed the game.
It's a must-have for me and my clients.
It's like my boat is floating on air.
They're easy to install.
Fully adjustable.
It makes a day on the water a whole lot more comfortable.
Smooth your ride with Smooth Moves.
Customer first, that's their mission at Dondelinger Auto. It's not just about the sale, It's about giving you peace of mind for as long as you own that vehicle. Dondolinger is home to the lifetime powertrain warranty for new and pre-owned vehicles, plus 10 years of roadside assistance. They have an incredible variety of the most popular vehicles and offer pickup and drop-off for service. Stop in to experience the Dondolinger difference today.
Because boaters know and follow Minnesota's aquatic invasive species laws, 98% of lakes are not known to have any zebra mussels. 95% are not known to have any kind of invasive animals or plants. Let's keep it this way. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from watercraft, including the motor, and keep drain plugs out during transport. Dispose of unused bait properly. Together, we're preventing the spread of aquatic invasive species in Minnesota.
You can't choose the weather, but you can choose outerwear that works. Technical apparel, rain gear, soft shells, sunwear, when you need to stay comfortable all day, choose Blackfish, because you can't choose the weather.
Now it's time for cool products brought to you by Fleet Farm. Now today we're talking about swim bait fishing, so we have a bunch of different gear up here that we're gonna break down that's gonna help you catch more fish swim baiting this year. Now let's kick things off with a really cool pre-rigged option, the Storm 360 GT. This one that I have right here in my hand is a 3.5-inch model. It also comes in 4.5 inches, 5.5 inches, and super new to the scene right here is the 2.5-incher. And what this will be great for is cold water fishing in spring, small presentations for walleye, bass, etc. Now another pre-rig option we have right here is the Northland Impulse Paddle Minnow. Now this is actually a really popular bait all year long, but as you can see, it's got some really sick finishes on it right here. This one actually looks like a walleye, which is kind of neat. Really pretty baits, and they catch fish. Now along the same lines as the paddle minnow, right here we have the Northland Mimic Minnow. Now this is actually one of the original lifelike pre-rig paddle tail minnows. One thing that's really key about these lures is that they come in UV colors, which is really unique for a bait like this. Now if you're the kind of person who doesn't tend to like pre-rigs, and you like to use your own hooks, your own jigs, etc. Right here you have the option of the paddle minnow without the pre-rigging system. And it has a lot of the same characteristics as the ones I talked about here, except for you can choose your own jig head, should you so please. Another paddle tail option you're gonna wanna take a look at is the Kalin's Tickle Tail. Now one thing that you'll notice right away that's unique about this bait is that it's got a bunch of tiny little appendages hanging off of each side of the bait. Now what that's gonna do, whether you're swimming the bait, or you're ripping the bait, or you're dragging it across the bottom, is it's just gonna move more water and have a little extra movement on the bait as you're fishing it. And lastly, they come in two different sizes, a 3.8-inch and a 4.8-inch. Now if you're looking for a jig to pair up with these plastics, a really cool, unique option are these Kalin's Google Eye swim bait jigs. What's unique about them is they have a big googly eye. And additionally, you'll see that it has a long shank and an extra wide gap, which is ideal for swim bait fishing. Another cool option from Kalin's is just the standard Google Eye jig. Now what this particular jig is gonna be good for is smaller plastics or live bait. But as you can see right here, it still has the wire keeper, but it also has a lot of the same characteristics as the swim bait jig. One jig that I use quite often is the Vmc Halfmoon Jig. The standard Halfmoon Jig is a little bit beefier, you can use a little bit bigger plastics on it, and the Finesse Halfmoon Jig is suited a little bit better for smaller plastics, you know, whether it's like a 3-incher or 2.5 or smaller. Now if you're looking for the right line to pair with your swim bait setup, I would highly recommend this Suffix Advanced Mono. And essentially what this is a nylon Dyneema blend, and it's extremely low stretch, especially for mono. It comes from 4-pound all the way up to 25-pound test. This 10-pound right here is a good call for swim baiting, but I would actually also recommend checking out 6-pound. It's really, really tough, really strong line. Now, if you're looking for a really good bait casting reel that's reasonably priced, this one right here, the Daiwa CA80, is an excellent option. One thing that you'll notice right away is that it has a large 90mm handle. Basically what that means is it's a really big cranking handle that'll help you get a little bit of extra torque when you're fighting fish or pulling in your bait. Now this thing's not only built to perform, but it's also built to be light. It has an aluminum frame paired up with a carbon fiber side plates, which makes it a little bit lighter and easier to use when you're on the water. One of the biggest keys to catching fish is finding fish. And a huge tool to help get that done is high-end HD lake maps. Now, this one right here, the Lake Master Plus, not only has 1-foot contours, but it also has aerial imagery overlays on the HD maps. They have maps from Minnesota, Dakotas, all throughout the region, all throughout the country actually. So get the one that pairs up with where you fish. Now last but not least, we have something for the ladies, the Blackfish UPF Guide Hoodie. Blackfish has been coming out with a lot of different shirts and performance gear for women that are cut specifically for women. They obviously have a lot of great gear for men, but some of the new women's stuff coming out is awesome. So the material on this hoodie is a chemical-free cooling material, and essentially what that means is it's wicking the water away from your body and keeping you cool when it's really hot out. So that's something to consider if you're looking for some hot weather gear. Now all these products that we just talked about are available at your local Fleet Farm store or fleetfarm.com. Now coming up next, we have the technique of the week.
You know, when it comes to jig fishing, the baits I use are about as diverse as the bodies of water I fish. And one of my favorite go-to techniques is just pitching a swim bait. You know, I've got it on a swim head jig, a simple paddle tail like this, like the Northland Core Impulse paddle tails. They're just dynamite baits for pitching and ripping, and you can use these in a lot of different covers. Like today we're pitching weed lines where I'm just letting it hit the bottom and I'm ripping that bait back through the cover. I'm not letting it fall all the way down to the bottom, but I'm letting it fall enough in that cabbage where I can present that bait right. Simply because if you're fishing live bait, the more you rip, the more likely that bait's gonna fall down off the hook and give you an undesired presentation. Whereas with this plastic, you can snap through weeds, you can fish this a lot of different ways and fish it a lot more aggressive. However, if you do need to slow down, I like to use shorter shank jigs or something with a blade. Even these current cutter jigs work excellent with live bait. They've got a lot of live bait hook up there. And actually feeding the shiner onto the jig head and then working a little more slow, a little more methodical, whether you're fishing rock piles, wind-blown points, even dispersed cover where you're fishing that jig a lot slower along the bottom. That's where live bait shines, is when you've got to slow down and fish slower. So make sure you've got plenty of different jigs in the boat with you. Like I said, I like to use a lot of live bait jigs, but I also like to use a lot of plastics, and make sure that you're using the right jig that fits the bait in which you're presenting.
Yeah, swim baits are great for fishing walleye, especially in cabbage, like Tony said. And speaking of walleyes, next week's show, we're talking about finding walleye. And as always here, we want to help remind you to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you leave any body of water, clean, drain, dry. Hey, thank you for joining us this week. I'm Troy Linder. We'll see you next time.
Want to learn how to catch more and bigger fish like largemouth and smallmouth bass? Or maybe you want to learn how to catch big walleye, monster catfish, or giant panfish all year round? Well, we got the place for you. Introducing the Fish Head Video Library. Now you can enjoy hour after hour of educational videos right on your phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, or even stream videos right to your TV. Is bass fishing your gig? We'll teach you everything you need to know about catching more largemouth and smallmouth bass. Or maybe you want to learn how to catch panfish like crappies and giant bluegills. Yep, we got you covered. After watching our panfish videos, you'll know when, where, and how to catch panfish no matter what the season. Check out Fishhead TV to rent, buy, or become a Fishhead member today.